You are now accessing the Mystery Archive channel. These files were never meant to be released. What you are about to witness is classified, restricted, and dangerous. Proceed at your own risk.
They always told Tam never to cover the old mirror in his grandfather's house. The frame was heavy oak, carved with strange, twisting patterns, and no matter how he adjusted the curtains, the glass always seemed a little too dark, as if it reflected a room with no light. That night, Tam couldn't sleep. The wind rattled the windows, and the soft creak of the floorboards made his stomach tighten. He glanced toward the mirror. For a moment, he thought he saw someone standing behind his reflection, someone who wasn't there when he turned around. Heart pounding, Tam grabbed an old bed sheet and threw it over the mirror. The room grew colder instantly, as though he'd just locked something out, or in. He climbed back into bed, clutching the blankets tight, telling himself he was imagining things. At 3:17 a.m., he woke to a soft scraping sound. The sheet was gone. The mirror was uncovered, and his reflection was smiling. Only he wasn't. And as the glass rippled like water, his reflection stepped out. It took Tam a moment to realize he was staring at his own outstretched hand, the fingers spidery and pale in the darkness. He blinked, and for a fleeting instant, he saw two reflections, one wobbling precariously on the edge of the mirror before it vanished. "Hello?" His voice sounded thin and reedy in the stillness. "Is someone there?" The scratching started again, this time coming from the other side of the mirror. Tam scrambled out of bed, knocking over his bedside table in the process. The noise stopped. Maybe it was just the wind. The old house groaned and sighed with the wind. Of course, it was just the wind. But when he turned to get back into bed, he saw the mirror again, and it was then he realized that the darkness within the glass wasn't empty. It was full of tiny pinpricks of light, like stars in a night sky, pinpricks that were slowly coalescing into a shape, a humanoid shape. Terror lent speed to Tam's movements as he raced away from the mirror, stumbling over his discarded bed sheet. He didn't dare look back, but he could feel the creature's gaze boring into his back, and he could hear its soft, wet noises like the lapping of water or perhaps a dog trying to lick the glass. He ran until he reached his grandfather's study, the heavy oak door a welcome barrier between him and the mirror. But as he fumbled for the doorknob, the scratching started again. Louder now, insistent, urgent. And then a new sound joined it, a low growl that vibrated through the floorboards and up his legs. He slammed the door open and plunged into the darkness beyond, not daring to turn on the lights, knowing that whatever was out there wouldn't be able to see him if he kept the room in shadow. He could hear the scratching now on the other side of the door, and when he put his ear to it, he could hear the creature's raspy breathing. Then it stopped, and Tam dared to turn on the lamp on his grandfather's desk. The scratching started again, this time on the other side of the wall. Panting, Tam sank into a chair, trying to calm his racing heart. He told himself it was just an animal, some stray dog or cat that had gotten into the house. But even as he said the words, he knew they weren't true. He remembered then the stories his grandfather used to tell him about the house, about the people who had lived here before them, about the secrets buried in the walls and floors, and most of all, about the mirror. His grandfather had always been evasive when asked about it, but Tam recalled one thing he had said, that there was something in the mirror, something trapped, something that shouldn't have been allowed to escape. Tam got up, his fear replaced by a grim determination. He wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he knew he couldn't stay in the house. Not while whatever was out there was still trapped. As he walked past the mirror, he paused and stared into its depths. The darkness seemed to writhe and twist, and he could have sworn he saw a face peering back at him, a face with eyes like burning coals. He didn't stop to investigate. Instead, he raced down the stairs, out the front door, and into the night. The image of his burning-eyed reflection seared into his mind. Now, as the full moon climbed higher in the sky, Tam ran, his breath catching in his throat. Whatever was out there was hunting him, and he could feel its presence at his back like a shadow, a tangible thing with teeth and claws and burning eyes. He didn't know where he was going, but he didn't dare stop running. He ran until he reached the edge of town, until he came to an old abandoned church, its windows dark and empty sockets in the gloom. He hesitated. Was he really going to do this? Was he really going to trust an old folk tale to save him? He didn't have time to think about it. He could hear the creature behind him, its growls echoing his own pounding heart. So he did the only thing he could think of. He ran inside the church. You have reached the end of this transmission. What you have seen is only a fragment of the archive. More files remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Until the next broadcast, stay alert. They are still listening.